There are some times when I need a song, when my heart's broken and my face is long. I may be crying well into the night, but when I start singing, I'm soon flying right. He keeps me happy, he keeps me free, he keeps me singing a song, he keeps me on my knees. Next time you find yourself moping around, just feeling sorry, you're feeling so down, there ain't no reason to stay that way long if you start praying and singing a song. He keeps me happy, he keeps me free, he keeps me singing a song, he keeps me on my knees. He keeps me happy, yes he does. He keeps me free, he keeps me singing a song, he keeps me on my knees.
Well, thank you for joining us, everybody. We hope we're streaming. This is our first try, so we won't know for sure until we're done and we hit stop. And then if it says, "Are you ready to begin?" we'll know we've blown it. But we're happy to start this. We're going to be doing this every Tuesday. That's our plan anyway, to do this every Tuesday evening, to do the show at home with Jim and Dee, because we are at home, and so you're joining us here in our home. And we want to thank you for joining us. And if you want to watch us later, you can go back and watch on the Jim and Dee channel later on. And thanks for joining us. And
well, I just wanted to tell you that we launched a new Facebook page today. It's called Jim and Dee Music. You can go look for that. And if you haven't already been invited or liked it, please do. That would be very awesome. And also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just Jim and Dee Patton. And here we go. Next song. Walking along, kicking stone, too nice a morning to want to go home, catching the frogs that live in the pond, singing and walking along. It's kind of fun being me, being young. I'd sure stay this way if I could. 'Cause when we get old, then our work's never done. I'd sure stay this way if I could. All by myself, it's still lots of fun, chasing the squirrels as they run. Who tells the sun what time to rise, and who puts the sleep in my eyes? It's kind of fun being me, being young. I'd sure stay this way if I could. 'Cause when we get old, then our work's never done. I'd sure stay this way if I could. I'd like to swing high as the birds when they fly, and kick a big hole in the sky. I like to pretend I'm a fish when I swim. No one swims better than him. It's kind of fun being me, being young. I'd sure stay this way if I could. 'Cause when we get old and our work's never done, I'd sure stay this way if I could.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hold the thunderous applause, please. That's this is a little odd here, sitting there singing to ourselves.
We wanted to do a song from our albums, the Psalm 33 Suite. I think that album probably needs a little explanation. Some years ago, we took notice of the loads and loads of scripture songs that have been coming out, and so many of them were so great, but kind of had this idea and desire to see scripture singing and memorization for larger passages. So we decided to do a whole chapter. We picked Psalm 33 for that, and ended up doing an album that just came out with tape music last year or 2 years ago, 2014.
Yeah.
It's available on Amazon, also on iTunes, called the Psalm 33 Suite. We're going to do the first song from that album.
Sing for joy in the Lord. Sing for joy in the Lord. Oh, you righteous ones, sing for joy in the Lord. Sing to him a new song. Sing to him a new song. Oh, you righteous ones, sing to him a new song. Praises be coming to the upright. Give thanks to the Lord with a lyre. Praises be coming to the upright. Sing praises to him with a harp of 10 strings. Sing. Sing for joy in the Lord. Sing for joy in the Lord. Oh, you righteous ones, sing for joy in the Lord. Praises be coming to the upright. Give thanks to the Lord with a lyre. Praises be coming to the upright. Play skillfully with a shout of joy. Sing for joy in the Lord. Sing for joy in the Lord. Oh, you righteous ones, sing for joy in the Lord. Sing for joy in the Lord. Sing for joy in the Lord.
Well, it goes something like that with more proper chord changes and so on. But we haven't actually done these songs live very much, so you'll have to buy the album if you want to hear how it's really supposed to go. So we some years ago, back in the 70s, mid 70s, we were on a ministry team in Houston, Texas, and down there we met a guy who was an animator, and he was a Christian guy, and he was an animator, and he told us about a film that we should see. And of course, back in those days, they didn't have DVDs or Blu-rays or even VHS. If you wanted to see something, you had to have a 16 millimeter projector, and the film. And this particular film was available at the Houston Library, so we went down and checked out this film and watched it and showed it to the team, as I recall. And it was a really great story, which we had never heard before. It was a story called The Selfish Giant, written by Oscar Wilde. It was among the last things that he wrote. One of the last things that he wrote. I don't know if it was the last thing, but I know it was among the last things that he wrote. He wrote a collection of children's stories called The Happy Prince and Other Tales. And I was going to show you a copy of the book, but I guess we forgot to bring it in here. We'll show you another time. So we loved the story then. We went and found the book, and we just read it over and over, and then we wanted to do something with it. We didn't know what we would do. But we decided we would do something with it, and so about maybe 20 years later, we started to work on a rock opera. I'd never written a rock opera before. And as far as I know, not many people have, but I wanted to write a rock opera in the vein of Tommy or Jesus Christ Superstar or something along that lines. And so we wrote the first 3 songs. At that time, we were still doing a lot of traveling, so we sang the songs when we go and sing different places and tell people, this is a story we want to tell, we want to do this. And it wasn't probably until about 2003 that we really got serious about it. I told Diaz that I just feel compelled. I have to do this. We have to do this. This is a story that has to be told. So we made the arrangements we needed to make with Dee working full time and me being able to work in the studio. And I started recording. This was fairly early days of a lot of digital recording and stuff. And we started recording here in our home. And it took me 3 years to record this. We had taken the book, the story, broken it up thought for thought, just kind of like we did Psalm 33, broke it up thought for thought, so that we could make songs for each of these things. And we did that. Dee was primarily working on lyrics. I was primarily working on the music because I was in the studio. And as it progressed, we became more and more excited about it, and we finally finished it up. And about 2006 or 2008 or something. I mean, maybe 2008. I think it might have come out in 2008. And this one also is one. And somebody was already asking Dee on Facebook this afternoon where to get the music, where to get some of our music, and it's we put our CDs out through a couple ways, some through regular record companies, but this one we put it out ourselves, and we put it out through CD Baby. You can now get it though on Amazon and a few other places, and you can get digital downloads from Amazon, iTunes, and I don't know where all places. I don't know where they put it up, but the record company guys or whatever deal with all that stuff. So I'm sure as the weeks go by, we'll do songs. More songs probably from Psalm 33 and from The Selfish Giant. But the story is about a giant who goes away to visit a friend of his in Cornwall, an ogre, a giant visiting an ogre. And after about 7 years of being a giant of very limited conversation, he didn't have anything more to say, so he started on his way home.
Stay. 7 years later, nothing left to say. Home again, I'm on my way, yeah, yeah. I had never Cornish bugs, Cornish shows, Cornish jokes. I'm tired of talking to my Cornish friends and eating out with the Cornish hen, yeah, yeah. Home again, I'm on my way. 7 years ago, I left my home. Forgot my toothbrush, forgot my comb. Got the 7-year itch and the urge to roam. Heading down the highway like a rolling stone. I had enough of Cornish bugs, Cornish ogres, corn jokes. I'm tired of listening to my Cornish friends and sleeping in their Cornish dens, yeah, yeah. Home again, I'm on my way. day. 7 years later, nothing left to say. Home again, I'm on my way, yeah, yeah. I had enough of Cornish loves, Cornish shows, Cornish jokes. Time talking to my Cornish friends and eating nothing but Cornish hens, yeah, yeah. Home again, I'm on my way. I had enough of Cornish bluffs, Cornish shows, and cornball jokes. Tired of listening to my Cornish friends and sleeping in his Cornish den, yeah, yeah. Woo! Home again, I'm on my way. Home again, I'm on my way. Home again, I'm on my way.
So should we tell them about Bongo and the Point?
Yeah, that the album, The Selfish Giant, was put out under the banner of Bongo and the Point. Bongo and the Point is a name that we use here locally. We have been for probably, since the album finished. In fact, when the album finished, when we finished recording the album and so on, I had been locked in this room here for about 3 years, and I said to DS, I got to get out and play in front of people. I'm going crazy just doing nothing but playing in this studio. And so we went out and experimented with different things. We tried playing our kids' songs, playing our original songs, and playing oldies. And as we played more and more, the oldies began to take over because that's what people really liked. We'd be doing songs by, the Everly Brothers, the Beatles, Hollies, whatever, all those kinds of bands from the late 50s, early 60s, particularly strong on the British invasion because that's where I cut my teeth as a musician playing in a band, and I like those songs. And after a little while, two of our daughters, Bree and Elfin, ended up singing with us, and they didn't like being called Jim and Dee, so I told them to come up with a name, and maybe we'll tell you the story about that sometime, but they came up with the name Bongo and the Point, and I said, whatever you want, as long as we can get the domain name for it. And so we play locally under the name of Bongo and the Point, and whether it's a duo, but it's usually when there's more than two of us, but although, basically around here we're just Bongo and the Point. That's what people know us as.
Shh, don't tell anyone.
Yeah, there's two separate acts here. There's Jim and Dee and there's Bongo and the Point. So when we did The Selfish Giant, it was not a religious album in any way, and it was not really written and recorded for the church. I think if you either buy the album, listen to it, and follow along with all the lyrics so you know what's going on, or if you just get the story, buy the book. You can find it online. Be careful online though, because a lot of people have changed, either cut off the ending or changed the ending because they don't like it. And I remember people writing online and accusing us of changing the ending, but we actually did it the same way that Oscar Wilde did. We used his ending, and it's a tremendous punchline in the story. So when we're out playing locally, we play as Bongo and the Point, and The Selfish Giant was put out under the banner of the Selfish Giant because we were trying to use it as an outreach tool, basically, and it's really good for that if you have friends that don't know the Lord. It's a tremendous what would you call it? Not indication. What would you call it? It's a
introduction.
Yeah, introduction. Yeah. Great introduction to the person of Jesus. And so the next song we did while we were playing. We had I think about, I don't know, we had a bunch of people playing with us, a whole band, I think, at this time when we did this next song. And so we released it as a single under the banner of Bongo and the Point, and but I like it. Probably our next album that we're going to hopefully finish up this year. We started last year. We want to finish another album. I'm going to probably put this song on that album too because it's a really good song from my tastes. And those of you who are familiar with C.S. Lewis and the Chronicles of Narnia might just recognize this the hook on this song.
Day after day as my life unfolds before me, week after week as the months go marching by.
It's probably not on.
Life's a blur, and where I've been, I can never go back again. So here I go, further up, further in.
Go backwards.
Week after week as the months turn into years.
Gross, yeah.
Year after year as the decades fly on by. There's been laughter and there's been pain. I would never go there again. So here I go, further up, further in. The way that it looks from where I stand. This road goes on and on and on without end. Step after step as this journey leads me onward. Mile after mile as the next hill meets the sky. There's been sunshine and there's been rain. Come too far to turn back again. So here I go, further up, further in. Here I go, further up, further in.
Thank you. I know that's weird.
We'll get used to it. Well, we're going to do one more song. Before we do, I'd like to go ahead and ask you again to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check it out first. Make sure you want to. And like us on Facebook. And the address there is Facebook/Jim and D Music. Just Jim and D with an N in between. And you can also follow us on Twitter, which is Jim and D Music, at Jim and D Music. So we're just learning all this stuff. And want to thank you for joining us tonight. And when we get done with this song, we'll be signing off. Lord bless you guys.
Don't you give up, don't you give up. Angels are calling to me. Don't you give up, don't you give up. Angels are calling to me. Don't you give up. You are the Lord of my life. I will do what you say until the day that I die. And then forever I'll be at your feet. Whatever you do with me, all will be. I know will be sweet. So don't you give up, don't you give up. Angels are calling to me. Don't you give up, don't you give up. Angels are calling to me. Don't you give up. I've been running this race for so long. Sometimes I feel are calling to me. Don't you give up. Don't you give up, love. Don't you give up. Angels are calling to me. Don't you give up. They're singing, don't you give up. Angels are calling to me. Don't you give up.
Thank you very much, and good
Thank
night.
you, guys. See you all next week, hopefully. And don't forget to tell your friends.